Welcome to Homeschool Expert. I am so looking forward to talking with you today about developing a homeschool community. It's easy to think we have to be our children's everything, especially when homeschooling, but there is a significant value to fostering a homeschool network of friends, resources, and experts to provide much needed support along the way. In the last 30 years, homeschooling has grown tremendously, with the internet becoming a large force connecting homeschool families worldwide. If anything, the trouble is not finding a homeschool group to join, it's keeping from joining too many. Today we will talk about some very practical steps you can take to find or create a homeschool community that meets your family's needs so you can homeschool like an expert. Let's get started. There are 6 key components to consider when developing a community. The first is to answer the question, why? Becoming a part of a local homeschool community has been critical to my success as a parent-teacher and the holistic education of my children. At times, homeschooling can be isolating, not so much for my children as it is for me. Many days I spend the bulk of my time either as teacher, mentor, disciplinarian, or chauffeur, and that can lead to loneliness, a limited perspective, or burnout if I'm not intentional to build otherwise. The kids are doing great. They are the ones getting driven to sports and play dates. I'm the one stuck in the car. Developing a healthy connection with other families will give you not only a sense of belonging, but access to the resources that will help you homeschool confidently. It will also give you a place to brainstorm with other parents who understand your world and what it means to homeschool. Envision a day when your child is struggling with handwriting. You head to the park to meet up with 6 other homeschool families, and you have the opportunity to vent, strategize, and ask questions of other parents who have likely experienced similar struggles, which is not only therapeutic, but often leads to discovering new helpful resources. In my early years homeschooling, I walked away from many of those kinds of conversations feeling heard, helped, and a part of something bigger than me. Secondly, your homeschool community will be validating, not only for what you experience as a parent-teacher, but for your children to see their peers with other teaching parents. We have learned so much from observing how other homeschool families learn similarly or differently from ours, and it's challenged my children to see learning as fun and to stretch themselves in new ways. Perhaps the greatest benefit you will gain from being a part of one of these groups is the opportunity to learn from experienced homeschooling parents within your community. Most are eager to share resources, ideas, lessons learned the hard way, and helps. Homeschool Expert is my way of distilling decades of those park day conversations into a resource that will help you homeschool confidently, just as so many parents helped me. So now that you're sold on building a community, the next question is where to find it. The good news is that you just need one connection to launch your search, one phone call or one group leader. As you already know, it's great to start your search online. However, beyond searching keywords like local homeschool groups, consider specifically searching out groups on social media platforms. Often you will find co-ops where parents share teaching responsibilities, running clubs, hobby groups, and field trip co-ops. Researching your state's homeschool organization will also be a hub for discovering what groups are available in your city. In addition, sometimes community centers will host homeschool events during the traditional school day, so it's worth contacting one in your area. With any of those groups, focus on locating one homeschooler who's willing to have a conversation with you about how they have built homeschool community locally. If there are any online homeschool groups they recommend joining, and if they can recommend one other homeschooler you could talk to for additional advice. From there, the next step is to join a few online homeschool community groups. Some are more effective than others, and they're often free, so it's a good idea to join a few until you find a good fit. Once you're in the groups, send an ISO email. It sounds cheesy, but I've done this in every new city where we have moved with great results. Over email, I introduce my family to the list, say I have 4 kids with these ages who love Legos, Nerf, and scooters, and ask if anyone wants to meet up and play at the park. It's not nearly as blind date as it sounds, and I've made some of my best life friends doing this. An option for some is to contact local religious organizations like a church. Homeschooling historically has had robust networks in faith-based communities. If that's something you're open to exploring, call a few local churches in your area and ask to speak to the children's pastor. You can explain that you don't attend the church, but are interested in connecting with homeschool families in the area, and ask the pastor for recommendations. I have also done this every time we move and have never had a refusal. Pastors have been happy to help, and they didn't ask me to tithe or become a member. They didn't spam me, and they either connected me to a local homeschooling parent or recommended another local church that's more of a nexus. It's been a great resource. In all your searching, keep a quantity limit in mind. It is fine to sign up for lots of groups in the beginning, but plan to scale them back after a few months to 1 to 3 groups that seem like a good fit. There are more homeschool groups than time. Sometimes we say no to good options to create the best lifestyle for our families, which leads to the next obvious question: how do I know what to look for in a group? As I mentioned before, there are many different kinds of homeschool groups: play groups, co-ops, academic groups, sports groups, and so on. When searching for your core group, I encourage you to look for a group with flexible curriculum, meaning that being a part of the group will not require you to use a specific curriculum for your core subjects. Curriculum-based co-ops can be a fantastic resource, and I know many families who've been very happy in them. However, tying yourself to a curriculum group as your core community group may present a challenge later as you get to know your child's learning preferences, or if you have another child and discover that the required curriculum is no longer a good fit. I've seen this play out before, where parents are faced with the hard decision of customizing their child's curriculum or keeping their core community. As we learned in Lesson 2, every child learns differently. So absolutely join an academic co-op if it's a good resource for your family, but consider it secondary. Balancing play with academics during the week is also important. Studies have shown time and again that open-ended, unstructured play reinforces creativity, innovation, leadership, and social skills. Just as it's important to attend academic co-ops and provide rigorous learning opportunities, it's equally important to create pockets each week for innovative play at the park with friends. In looking for a group, I also look for group perks. By that I mean, what can I do better by being a part of this group than I could do by myself? For example, if I want to teach my kids basketball, it will be pretty difficult to do that without a full team. So we join a club so they can learn how to play that sport. Or if I'm the sort of parent who feels nervous about teaching science because I feel like I barely scraped through high school, it's a great idea to join a science co-op. Yes, I know I just talked about not making academic co-ops a fundamental core of your social network because it's curriculum-based, but that doesn't mean you can't add it to your core. Joining a curriculum-based co-op is an excellent decision if it provides the support you and your children need. Additionally, you will discover that socialization is easier when you overlap social pockets. Whenever I look for new groups, especially when I move to a new area, I try to find ways to overlap pockets of people we see during the week to reinforce feeling known, and so we can have a community where we do life together. Once we've chosen our core group, I will get to know other parents in that group and ask what else those families are involved in outside of homeschooling. From these conversations, I will learn about all kinds of possibilities, like a robotics club or a homeschool PE class or a book club for teens. By visiting those groups, we then find natural overlap with the friends we were already developing in our core community, so that by attending 3 different groups a week, we start seeing the same sets of friends over and over again. It gives my kids a sense of being known and having friends. Overlapping is not required, just encouraged, because it will help you build friends faster. Lastly, in looking for a group, consider opening up to diverse perspectives. I believe it's important for us as parents to expose our children to life outside their community so they can see the world through someone else's eyes. It's easy for me to get trapped in my social bubble that only reflects me and takes just a little intentionality and commitment on my part to get us out of that bubble. One family joined a local group of volunteers cleaning up parking lots and landscaping at the local elementary schools before school started. Other families will drive an extra 20 minutes just to join a co-op that reflects a different background or perspective than their own. If you decide to do the same, you can then arrange play dates incorporating those in your local community with those in your new network. We do that through hosting a monthly Nerf battle for kids from across the city at a local park on Sundays. By reaching out in creative ways and spaces, we build opportunities for meaningful relationships that connect our children in authentic ways to people in the community from different age, ethnic, economic, or other backgrounds. The fourth component in developing a community is knowing how to build one. There will be times when what your child needs is not readily offered in your area, but is fairly straightforward for you to put together. Let me rattle off a few quick ideas our family has enjoyed. We organized a book club for our teens so they could get together monthly and discuss the same book with friends. We combined show and tell with some playdates at the park to give our children an opportunity to practice social speaking skills. We traded hosting arts and craft days at our houses monthly to help our children develop some kinesthetic and social creativity. We organized field trips with friends where each parent designed a field trip or 2 during the school year, and we got to see life behind the scenes at the dump and the fudge factory. You'll never guess which the kids thought was cooler. We've organized outdoor fun where we explore the architectural history of our city or go for a hike together. And we've organized shared learning experiences when one parent led a series of animal dissections and another taught the students every step of knitting from sheep to sweater. These are just a few ideas of ways we have combined talents and interests to enrich learning for our local homeschool community. Having said all this, I recognize there are seasons in life when the social element is difficult for reasons beyond our control. It is in those seasons that it is especially important to be plugged into an online homeschool community so that you feel connected and a part of something bigger than you. For creative ideas on how to create social opportunities for you and your children if you are stranded at home, please check out my Quick Start Guide to Homeschooling. The final component to developing a community is knowing who to ask. Ironically enough, one place to look is the public school. As a private homeschooler, you are able to access many of the resources your tax dollars support in district. So if there is a special language taught at the high school level you want your student to learn, or if she wants to be part of orchestra, or if you need speech therapy, reach out to your neighborhood school and ask the guidance counselors how you can access those resources. Another group to ask for help is local artisans or coaches, asking them to offer a class to a small group of homeschoolers doing off-peak hours. Many local business owners are eager for the opportunity to expand their clientele. Thirdly, consider asking your local homeschool community if anyone knows a fill in the blank, because your teen would like to shadow one at work for an afternoon or seek out an internship. Because homeschooling is flexible, it opens up all kinds of options for our students to pursue an internship a couple days during the week and complete their homeschool coursework on evenings and weekends. Olympic athletes have been doing it for years. When I was 12, our local homeschool community helped my parents get connected to 3 members of the medical community, so I could shadow them at work for a day because I was interested in medicine. I was able to observe a pharmacist, a biomedical engineer who makes prosthetics, and watch a surgeon do a hernia repair. It was incredible and opened my worldview tremendously, far beyond textbooks. I saved my favorite resource for last because sometimes the best resources are underused because we don't even know they exist. Most local libraries have staff members who prep materials throughout the school year for local teachers, and they are often happy to extend that privilege to homeschooling families as well. I developed a working relationship with our community librarian so that at the beginning of each school year, I'm able to send her a reading level range and a monthly subject list, such as cellular biology for September, DNA for October, digestive anatomy for November, and she will match materials to them and have them sitting for me on a hold shelf on a specified date. It has been a fabulous resource, and Sheila has greatly enriched our school years. I encourage you to reach out to your local librarian and see what she can do for you. With the exception of a couple points, almost everything I have talked about today is free, based on relationships or included in the taxes you already pay. Developing a meaningful community is really about being committed to creativity and intentionality. Almost everything is better with a friend. Homeschooling too. While initially it may take some effort to locate families and groups that match up with the chemistry of ages and interests in your family, once you find them, it will breathe a tremendous amount of life into your homeschool journey and help you homeschool like an expert. Please check out Homeschool Like an Expert for additional resources. Thanks for joining me today. See you next time.